Hello, good evening. How are you? Hopefully you're really well. So here we go. It's another Sunday night, which means I thought we could do another Insta Live. And this weekend I'm delighted that we have a very special guest to come on. I suppose no more special than all of our guests, who are fantastic and keeping us company during lockdown. But Kelvin Fletcher is going to come on and talk to us. Now, a couple of people I know from overseas have said, "Who's Kelvin Fletcher?" Well, Kelvin Fletcher is fabulous. I thought I'd get a picture up of him so that you know who he is. There we go, that's Kelvin Fletcher. And that's him doing British GTs, because he loves to drive, as well as having started his career as an actor, doing Emmerdale for I think 20 years, but we can talk to him about that. And he's done all sorts of other pieces, and I suppose a lot of people might know him from his time on Strictly as well, because he was champion with OT. So there's plenty of stuff to talk to him about. So we'll join him in just a couple of minutes. But I wanted to say cheers as ever. I have some Chenin Blanc, which isn't my usual drink, but my brother bought it for me as my birthday present. So there we go. Mm-hmm. Lovely. Very nice. Got me lots of cheese as well. Thank you for everybody, by the way, who gave me birthday wishes. It was most kind. Yeah, I had a nice, weird lockdown birthday. I think it's the thing to do now, isn't it, to have a lockdown birthday? If you haven't had one, you've not lived yet. And I have to say congratulations to one of my friends who had a baby yesterday, in and out of hospital within 24 hours. It's just such strange times in the world, isn't it? But we are getting through it one step at a time. I want to know your thoughts on a couple of things that have been happening as well this week. So, not a huge amount of F1 news. We obviously heard that Silverstone now might not happen again. It was on, then it was off, then it was on, then it was off. Who knows? The quarantine rules in the UK seem to have put a spanner in the works. So that's disappointing, but hopefully they can find a resolution which doesn't annoy too many people. Because I think that's the other thing. They've got to balance it very carefully about who they keep on the right side of, and they've got to look at safety as well, haven't they? And the other thing I want to know your opinion on, we love a bit of controversy. Well done to George Russell for winning the Monaco Grand Prix, which has just happened. Of course, not the actual one, which takes us into the virtual world and Daniel Abt. Let me know your thoughts on Daniel, because obviously, if you haven't heard the news, it's quite a funky old story. He decided not to take part in the Formula E race yesterday, the virtual race. He got somebody else to drive for him, a professional sim racer, who managed to get Daniel Abt onto the podium, got a third place. And it's all a bit ouchy, really. He got discovered because it was fairly obvious, because they all had like Zoom connecting them and stuff, so it was fairly clear that he hadn't actually driven the race, and all of a sudden he's in the podium where his results previously weren't that good. But let me know what you think and your thoughts. Always never a dull moment, is there? Right, I would very much like to see if I can get Kelvin to join us. So I'm going to see, fingers crossed this week, and Kelvin will miraculously appear and we can have a good chat with him. There he is.
Hey, Jenny.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you very much.
Good.
Loving the blonde hair.
Yeah, I keep let's see. I keep forgetting I've got that. Yeah, I did it. I think I did it like 2 weeks ago. A couple of my friends had done it, and there's a few people online I'd seen. I think Paddy McGuinness somewhat started a bit of a trend, and I just thought, you know what, I'll go. Let me angle it so you can see it better.
Oh yeah.
And I've somewhat got used to it now, where people keep saying, I saw somebody just last week. I went to the tip of all places, and when I was kind of pulling in, somebody leaving just said hello, and they said, "Oh, your hair, Kelvin," and I was like, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah, I've dyed it blonde." So yeah, there's no real other reason than, I guess, an element of boredom. I've never dyed my hair blonde. I've never done this because obviously years of being in Emmerdale and various acting jobs, I'm somewhat kind of dictated as to how my hair should look and you know, certainly what colour it should be. So I just thought, whilst I've got this chance, I'll indulge, and that's what I did.
Loving it. Now, have you got a glass of something, a drink with you tonight?
My wife's just brought me up a glass of wine. Yeah, this is my.
Cheers.
I'm not. This is my. I don't really drink, to be honest. I certainly don't really drink at home, and
I've corrupted you already.
Yeah, when you suggested we have a tipple, yeah, so I opted for a glass of wine. So I'll have just the one. That'll do me.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much, and thanks to your wife as well. How's lockdown for you, apart from obviously the blonde?
Yeah, I'm kind of. I'm. It's getting to a point where it's quite tedious now. I think the first couple of weeks was a novelty. You know, there was for me, I guess for a lot of people, it's something that I didn't realize I needed, but I really found value in it, in a sense of, you know, we spend such vast majority of our lives, you know, 100 miles an hour chasing, and you never really. I'm always looking to the future, things I want to achieve, whether it's by, you know, car racing, my acting career, whatever it might be. And you're never really present, you know. So yeah, it was an opportunity to kind of, and on the back of 6 months being on the road, really, you know, I've been filming Strictly Come Dancing, and then we've been straight onto the tour. So it was a real chance to kind of be at home and just be with the family and be locked down, you know, in the house. So yeah, we loved it as a family. You know, I've got a young family, and then the realities, you know, kind of hit home. There's, you know, people out there who are in really tough situations, losing their jobs, obviously coming down with a virus and that. So it was kind of mixed feelings, really. You know, personally, we've obviously not been directly affected as a family unit, but I've got friends in a wider family that kind of have. So it's bittersweet. But yeah, it's been 3 months and it's kind of gone like that, really. And I'm just starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel with regards to some normality resuming, and it's really kind of uplifting, because I'd kind of gone to a point where I was a bit of a lull, and you just want to look forward, don't you? You just want to try and resume some sort of, you want to see friends, you want to cuddle your nan and granddad, you want, you know, it's things like that we've not been able to do. And I guess like everybody, we just, you know, every time the news, I don't watch the news, but every time you hear about the government recommendations, you kind of, you know, you're there with huge anticipation, hoping that, you know, we can go to a garden centre. That's, I've not been to one, but that's the most random things you can and can't do, and then suddenly you can go to a garden centre.
Have you been to a garden centre?
I've not, no.
You've been to the tip, but not the garden centre.
I've been to the tip. I've not been to the garden centre. I need to give it a go.
So what is kind of normality for you? Because obviously your life is kind of split, isn't it? You've got your acting career, Strictly, and you've got race.
I guess, yeah, my normality is very, there's no real routine. It's probably not normal. My normality is very different to other people's normality. It's a bit of a whirlwind, you know. First and foremost, as an actor, as a jobbing actor, you know, I was in a show, Emmerdale, for such a long time. And then I kind of left 3 years ago. I wanted to take a year or two completely out and not really work, just be. I was a new dad at the time. I'd recently got married, and I just wanted to kind of. I've worked professionally since I was 7 years old, and I've never had more than 2 weeks off. You know, even through my school life, I was juggling school work with filming at Emmerdale, and then in my adult professional working career, I've never had more than 2 weeks off. So it was a real opportunity to take stock. And I don't know if I was having a midlife crisis or not, but, you know, I just wanted to not do anything for a while, and I did that. And then it was very much, you know, as an actor, I wanted to get out there and work, and drama, film, theatre, every kind of platform, every discipline I wanted to explore, because I'm a very, very ambitious, and, you know, I've got a lot of self-belief in what I can do as an actor, and I've got a lot to show, and the audience have kind of only seen a very small, you know, version of me, if you like. So I was keen to get out there and act, and then, yeah, obviously with Strictly, that kind of came up as a complete curveball. A show that I've been a huge fan of for many years, and I'm sure many people have. And then, yeah, the opportunity, as they do, they come sometimes in the most unexpected manners. And
Because
and
you
it was
were
listening.
someone, weren't you, when you got the call? You were understudy.
I wasn't understudy. No, I wasn't. Oh, good little picture there. No, I wasn't. I think that the usual protocol with Strictly is that they do have what they call like an understudy, you know, a reserve on there. And they had a reserve this year, and it wasn't me. You know, I'd had chats with them the previous year. For whatever reasons, I couldn't do it, and I never kind of made that reserve list. And you know, and I very much felt that there's not many opportunities you get to kind of do Strictly. And for me, it wasn't something that I thought was any longer an option, and which is fine, you know. I'd go back to watching it as a fan. So yeah, when the call came, it was completely out of the blue. Like, you know, I wasn't a reserve, I wasn't on standby, and I was given literally a couple of hours to make a decision. So that was crazy. It's the unknown. It's exciting. But it's these sort of challenges in what I relish, you know, from driving, from acting, from, you know, leaving a job of 20 years because I just wanted a challenge. I wanted a new, you know, I wanted something to test me, and I wanted to go and seek new challenges. And Strictly was one of them. The challenge approached itself, and I just thought, you know, I can't dance. Yeah, I love music. I feel like I've got some rhythm, but can I learn choreography? Can I do a routine? Can I waltz? Can I samba? I don't know. I've never done it. Let's give it a go. And I'm a big believer. If you believe in yourself and you work hard, then you know you can do extremely well. And that's what I did. And I was very proud of my achievements. And it wasn't just me. You know, I had a whole support network. First and foremost with Ulti and the guys at Strictly, the creatives, the management, everybody there. It's just an unbelievable professional operation. And then closer to home, you know, wife, children, mum, dad, brother, you know, everybody was supporting me. And then to top it off, the public who kind of got behind me every week. That was the most humbling, I guess, I've ever felt, because to know and hear that you've resonated with people at home, it really genuinely touches you. And yeah, like I said, one of my proudest experience and moment, really.
Does it? I mean, people say going Strictly changes your life regardless of whether you win or not. Has it totally changed your life and the opportunities that it now presents itself to you?
Yeah, I think it does. I don't know about change your life. It can have an impact on your working life, maybe. You know, depending on if you're a sportsman, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But as an actor, as a performer, there's there's opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities that have come my way that have in the currently they're happening. Would they have been there had I not done Strictly? You know, who knows? I don't know. But either way, it's you've got to grab those opportunities. You know, that wasn't the reason in doing it. You know, it's a byproduct of it's a possible byproduct of doing the show. You expose, you know, your profile goes up, and there's these said opportunities that can arise, which is a great bonus. But that's all it is, a bonus, and it's not something I kind of anticipated. You never know what's going to happen. I might have gone out in the first week, the second week. I don't know. So anything that has come and should come hopefully in the future is purely treated as a bonus and you know, greatly appreciated. But my work ethic has never changed. You know, and my belief in myself has never changed. And that's kind of the story of me, really, the underdog. You know, I was never considered earlier on. I suddenly arrived, and then, you know, I wasn't what people expected, and whether that's in a racing car, in heels that big when you're doing a dance, or as an actor, you know, I'm confident that I'm not what people would expect, and you know, I take great belief in that and great confidence in that.
Mitchell's just been in touch saying, what was your favourite dance? You must get asked that a lot, I'm guessing, but
yeah, I think every time I give an answer, I think it changes. So maybe you shouldn't quote me on it. I guess, you know, the first night, that samba was like, as in the feeling of what you know, I came in late, I was like the new kid at school. Are people going to like me? As in, you're the cast, you know, I feel like I've missed out on 2 or 3 weeks. They've all gelled, they've all bonded, and I'm like this new guy. And I just thought, just go for it. But the buzz I got was, I mean, you know, you're rehearsing 12, 13, 14 hours a day, and you want to execute. And the dance wasn't perfect. You know, there's a lot technically that was wrong, but as a feeling of what it gave me, when you've worked your ass off all week and then you just get to dance it, and it was like, and it was euphoric, you know. It was really just special, and something that'll live with me for forever, you know. Seeing my mum and dad and my wife there in the crowd, and their reaction, they didn't know what to expect. That was, again, something that'll live with me for the rest of my life. But I'd said that the highlight of the dance, and it's the only dance in the 13 ever weeks I did, it's the only dance I didn't make a mistake, and that was the quick step. So every single dance I did, show dance, samba, rumba, whatever it was, there was one tiny mistake, or maybe 2 or 3 or 4. Maybe not the audience noticed, but certainly Ulti would, and I know, you know, when I've made a slight error of a step or whatever it is. And the quick step was the only one where I didn't make a mistake. So that was one I was, and that's what you're aiming to do. You work hard all week. Thursday you might do the perfect run, but that doesn't matter. No one sees that. You want to do the perfect run on the Saturday, and that was something I was never really able to do other than the quick step.
Amazing. I can't. Who was it? Just a question. Are you getting West End opportunities in lead roles, or I suppose any interesting opportunities that you've had that have surprised you?
Yeah, I love the West End. I'm a huge musical theatre fan. I have been from as early as I can remember. I remember as a kid, I think I'd watched Les Mis, and I wanted to be Gavroche, but I was a young actor, you know. I couldn't dance or sing, so as a musical theatre, you've not really got. Maybe I should have gone to a Sylvia Young type school or something like that. But I was a young budding actor at a local amateur drama group in Oldham, in a working class area, with no aspirations to be an actor, other than I played rugby, I played sport, and you just went and did a few acting lessons. It was just something that I did. Not many young lads did it. It was mostly girls, but that was fine. It was just something where I managed to enhance my imagination and I just love the experience. So the opportunities have come for West End, but I've got to do something that I'm comfortable with. You know, I've just spent the last 7 or 8 months out of my comfort zone in Strictly, and now, although I loved it, you know, my next job, I want to make sure that it's something that I'm absolutely comfortable with and know that I can fully execute. So who knows, you know, I would love to work on the West End without a doubt, but it'd have to be in a production that I would know myself that I could absolutely execute, because whatever I do, I want to be the best I can, best I can be.
Which brings us on to talking about cars. Right, got another picture that I've managed to steal from you, basically. So I believe that when it comes to cars, you've always had a deep passion for them, and this might explain why. This is your first car.
No, it's not my first car. No,
it's not your first. Okay, which car is this?
So that I've got quite a few classic cars. That's just so I was born in '84, so I'm an '80s kid. And that's actually,
okay.
That's the Mark 1. That's a 1980. That is a Mark 1 Cavalier. Nothing special. I've got two kind of, probably, like most people, you pick your favorite car, classic car, F40 Ferrari, E-Type Jaguar, all these cars that are steeped in kudos, in the legend, iconic cars. I don't know if it's because I'm from a working class area or an 80s kid, but for me, things like that Cavalier, unassuming, a bit, it just looks, I think it looks beautiful. The colour, I call it shit brown. It's
just the way to describe it, surely.
Yeah, and it's a practical classic. It's a car that I can use. But don't get me wrong, if somebody else says to me, what's your favourite car? My favourite car, it has been since I was a kid and it still is now, is a Ford Sierra RS 500 Cosworth. Oh. And that is my, and I mean, they're an expensive classic car now. But yeah, so my first car, I guess, growing up, posters on my walls with the likes of the Cavalier GSIs, the Cavalier Turbos, the Sapphire Cosworths, Escort Cosworths, they XR2s, that was my kind of thing, Lancia Thema was another one that I weirdly quite had a big crush on. I had a lot of crushes on cars. But my first car, which I bought when I was 17, I was obviously working at Emmerdale, and I'd been working professionally for quite a few years. So I was somewhat financially quite independent, and I was, lucky enough to buy my first car. And I got a Volkswagen Polo GTI. which was, you know, it was a brand new car, and I spec'd it. Had leather seats, heated seats. It was a 1.6, I think about 140 brake horse. You know, it was a really fast, hot hatch, cool looking car. And that, yeah, that was my first ever car. So that Cavalier was just a little treat I had for myself in the garage.
What sound system did you have in your car then? You must have had one.
I didn't, you know. I didn't go that far with the boom boxes and the 69s out in the parcel shelf. A lot of my friends did that, and then they'd have what they call a stealth shelf, I think, where you would put the 6x9s slightly under and fabricate it so they could still come out, and nobody would put your window through to pinch them. I didn't do that. I skipped it. I had that Polo I think I had it for about a year or two. And then I jumped up a few levels, and I bought a Tommy Mackinnon Mitsubishi Evolution 6.
Wow.
And I was only, I think, 18, 19. So this one had been played with a little bit. It was 400 brake horse, just short of 400 brake horse. So for a young 18-year-old, all my mates had Corsas and whatnot, and RS turbos, and on McDonald's and the car parks. And I was pulling up in a 400 brake horse Tommy Mackinnon, you know. So I was, but that was my passion, you know. That for me, that was my vice. That was, you know, and yeah. But it was that car. That's why I had my boombox. So I had a really good system put in that car, and then yeah, I had like a huge subwoofer in the boot that was there, and yeah, playing all my rap songs, you know.
I had a Peugeot 205. I zooped up. I put a box in the back. I put in the fake parcel shelf, everything. I loved it, and it was. Now I look back, it was just like, oh, that's just. I mean, the alloys on there, you name it. I was just like such a kid. I just loved that stuff. But yeah, I think the things you do when you're young, eh? What can you say? So did you? I'm just looking for another picture of you, that I've got. So we went from that to this, which is you racing. So I need to find out from you how that transition happened, because you obviously loved cars, you were into acting, and then I remember bumping into you at Goodwood.
Goodwood, yeah.
Oh, hang on a minute. You're driving, that's cool. So what got you from your first few cars to this stage of being in British GT?
I guess everything I kind of do, I tend to go the unorthodox route. You know, as we've said, I have a huge passion for cars. Stories of me going to bed with a spanner, you know, from a kid. That was my comfort. Like my little daughter now has a little label. She's obsessed with labels. So anything with a label, she has to kind of touch. And for me, and a teddy bear, whatever it might be. And for me, it was a spanner, you know, either a ratchet or some form of mechanical. Because at the time, my dad was a diesel fitter, so he was a mechanic working on trucks. And that was what I aspired to be. I wanted to be my dad. I wanted to fix things. I wanted to, you know, at the time he used to do foreigners. He'd work all hours of godsends, and then every weekend he'd be under someone's car on the road, you know, fixing it. And that was, as a family, how we got some extra money and stuff. So fixing cars is what I wanted to do. I had overalls the same as him that my mum and my nan cut down, and so I was obsessed with cars. Bikes, anything with an engine, I was kind of obsessed with, and you know, it wasn't we lived in a 2 down, but you know, my mum and dad worked extremely hard, but the thought of going racing was never, not even a thought, because it was just unachievable for our circumstances, and yeah, and I guess 6 or 7 years old, my local drama group had a bit of a name, and that became my hobby, and you know, as I went on to kind of be an actor then. But my passion for cars remained, and you know, 10 years old, 12 years old, whatever it is, I've got all these posters. Every time I was in graphic designs at school and we got a project, mine was to design the car. You know, everything was car theme with me. And then, as I said before, once I kind of came of age of 17, 18, I was financially independent. I could then indulge in my passion for cars, and I bought some, you know, I've had some really, really nice road cars, if you like. But still never raced, never thought about racing. And every time there was a stag do or anything like that, we'd all go go-karting, and you know, and I'd always do well, and I was felt confident, you know, in my Evos or my M3s or M5s, whatever the cars it were. I felt like I could handle them, and I felt like I was a good driver, like most people. And And yeah, and I felt like I always had a knack for driving. You know, I've had motocross bikes, I've had all these sort of toys, and I've always had I feel like I've had a knack for it. Um, and yeah, my racing career kind of started as a spectator. From probably as a kid, I remember my dad taking me to a few races, but when I was driving myself and at my own independence, I remember driving to Donington Park, Silverstone, Brands Hatch, Oulton Park to watch British superbikes, touring cars. I could never afford. Well, I could afford, but I wasn't willing to pay the tickets F1 price. You know, the F1 prices. But everything else I could justify. So I was there as a spectator, and because I was a TV guy, you know, I was able to mix in some circles that I got to know a few of the riders or a few of the drivers. So, you know, Matt Neal at the touring cars, Colin Turkington. These are people where I'd kind of was invited to their hospitality and got to meet them. So I'm there as a young, you know, enthusiast. I'm probably more starstruck meeting the likes of Colin Turkington, Leon Haslam, Jonathan Ray, whoever these, you know, two-wheel, four-wheel legends are. And that week I might have been filming with Such a Body or an awards show with whoever was there. But for me, that was my day job. That kind of didn't excite me. But these car people were what I really aspired to be. And that was my dream that I never got to kind of live out. So I was there as a spectator, from looking through the gates to suddenly in these nice hospitality rigs, and which was great. You know, I've been watching the MotoGP around the world. I've been to some amazing places as a spectator. And then fast forward 2012, I think I was 28 years old at the time. The Autosport show was a regular visit for me and my dad, just to go there and perv on the cars, you know, as the Iraqs that we are. And there was an advert for a classic Mini. It was a championship called the Mighty Minis on the BRSCC stand. And if for those people that don't know the Autosport show, it's an opportunity once a year. It's where Motorsport says, this is what we are and this is what we do, from grassroots racing to Formula One, the pinnacle, and everything in between. And it's their opportunity to showcase what they're about, for people to sell spark plugs, tyres, car wax, anything automotive related. And also for people like myself who have got a passion for cars and are maybe thinking about, you know, I've always fancied racing. What do I do? You know, I've not got millions of pounds. I'm not prepared to spend millions of pounds. Is this something for me? Well, there is. You know, there's something for everybody in motorsport. And that's what I found out. I'd never explored anything up until then. I'd done go-kart on stag do's, but I've never been in a proper go-kart. I've never done anything like that. And this stand was there with a Mighty Mini, I think $4.5 grand worth of car, $4 grand car, you know, a standard Mini with a roll cage, a few stickers on it, tape on the lights, and you can go racing, you can do your ARDS test, and you could go racing at Silverstone or at Oulton Park at Donington. And I turned to my dad and I said, because I remember when I was about 13 or 14, he bought me a Mini. Because when I was 13 or 14, I was working at Emmerdale, but I secretly thought, I'm probably not going to be an actor, because that's what I was constantly told at school with my careers advisor, just to be realistic, that you're never going to be an actor. You're never going to make a career of it, so get something else that you want to do. Academic-wise, I was bright, but it wasn't something that really, you know, appealed to me. I was really good mechanically, and I wanted to be anything fixing cars, selling cars, anything around cars I wanted to be. So my dad bought me this Mini, and every night I used to tinker with it, you know, take the carburetor apart, put it back together again, take wheel, just learn myself, and my dad had helped me. So that was my passion. So we fast forward, we're at this car show, we're reminiscing, saying, do you remember the one we had, the Mini? And it's an advert there saying you can go racing. And for probably what people spend playing golf, for, you know, a couple of grand for a year, you could go racing. And I said, should we do it? Should we take a punt? You know, we'll do it together. And that was it. I went for my ads. I rang the guy up. I said, I went to the car show last week. I saw an advert, saw your number. I've not got a car. Where do I get a car from? He said, well, somebody's selling a car. So I went and bought this car for $3 grand. So I thought, well, straight away, it's expensive, motorsport. But I thought I'll justify that and to go racing for the weekend. So I bought a little tent. Me and my dad went racing. Turned up this one weekend. I had a big X on the back of my Oulton Park, my local circuit.
Love it.
And that was it. So I'd signed to the championship, and with no aspirations other than just to compete and see where I fare. You know, these 25, 30 cars. And my learning of motorsport was at the absolute grassroots level, with no money, with, you know, camping, me and my dad on the tarmac next to the car the night before, pissing down rain. Everyone's tinkering with the cars, and I'm like, you know,
what are they doing?
I don't know what they're doing. Yeah. Well, the only thing I did was my tyre pressures, and that was it. I was like, fuel, tyre pressures, go and race it. I didn't know what else to do. There was a you know, tweaking the shockers and stuff like that. I didn't know whether I wanted it hard, soft. I was like, just go for it. And qualifying, I put it on pole position. No novice has ever done that before. And I think people were like, and I was like thinking, wow, you know, I am pretty quick, maybe. And it was club racing, but, you know, let's not beat around the bush. Club racing is, I'm at a level now, GT3, which is, you know, domestically in GT, it's probably the pinnacle. But I never look down on club races because of that 30 grid, the probably top 6 or 7 lads were very, very, very quick. And would probably be quick in anything they jumped in. And they just simply not had the opportunities and the funds to do anything else. So I never, ever judge, you know, that I've been there. And a guy who's winning the Mini Championship, a guy who's winning the Fiesta Championship, a guy who's winning the whatever championship it is, Club Motorsport, are good peddlers. And you know, I've got absolute maximum respect for them. And I think a lot of racers forget that. A lot of professional racers, you know, the term, I'll use that loosely, professional, but a lot of racers out there who have not skipped all that. They've gone through go-karting or done whatever they do and jumped in at a much higher level and don't have the respect for those guys. And I think that's where, you know, that's where they, you know, they're at fault, really. So for me, I've got complete respect for those guys, and that's where I started. So yeah, 2012, my first year of racing. And I think the real change of that year was I was leading the championship, I think 2 or 3 races in, which again had never kind of been done before. And I had this momentum, and I was invited to do the Celebrity Classic race at the Silverstone Classic weekend. And I won that. And that's when I started having talks with Porsche at the time. And the year after, I did a thing with the Porsche Carrera Cup with a feeder series to that. So I found myself spending probably about 4 or 5 grand over the year racing minis to within 12 months, I was then racing with a team, and I had sponsors. I'd managed to find my own sponsors.
That's amazing. So, I mean, people can only dream of that sometimes.
Yeah, it was, and I was, you know, very fortunate to be a guy on TV, you know, in a sense that I could leverage that and leverage my profile and gain some sponsorship and use that kudos. You know, what I lacked in racing experience, what I lacked in racing. I wouldn't say racing talent. I feel like I've got the talent. It's just a case of I've come to the party a lot later than everybody else. But, you know, what I lacked in that sense, I gained in kudos, in profile, in and you know, I was committed. I was prepared to pay to go racing a minute. And I wasn't prepared, and I probably couldn't afford to go race in a Porsche. But the opportunity came, and that's when I went to knock on doors, you know, and ask for sponsors. And that was all my own work, you know. And every year, fast forward, you know, eight years or so, and I'm now racing at, you know, like I said, the top level. And I've got some huge sponsors who are backing me. And every sponsor I've ever got, I've done it. I've not had anybody working for me. I've that's all come from an email, a phone call, you know, and that's something I'm proud of, and that's something that you know that I kind of that will remain, you know, because racing, especially at this level, it's stood up by the sponsors and the people that put the money up. So yeah, I've had an amazing journey, and it's kind of all started with what started as a bit of a hobby has now very much become another career path, really.
Does your dad still travel with you when it comes to motorsport?
Yeah, we like the Dingles.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, we you know, we every race, my mum and dad are there, brothers, friends. We stay at the track. We got some little campers or camp out, and yeah, that's for me. That's probably the best part of the racing weekend. You know, the most fun I've ever had is the minis, because it was just budget racing. Everyone mucked in. It was really good racing, competitive. You know, you wanted to win, but it was just the feel and the buzz. And the level I'm at now, there's a lot of pressure on. You know, there's people who are putting a lot of money and a lot of expectation. And I'm putting a lot of expectation on my own shoulders as well. So, you know, I won't have a couple of beers over the weekend when I'm racing. You know, everything's a lot more serious. But the downtime is spent with the family still, and we try and have as much fun as we can.
Lots of people asking what your favourite circuit is. I mean, you've been around the world, you've seen a lot. I suppose I should ask you favourite circuit to drive at, favourite circuit to go to.
Favourite circuit. I'd probably say. Again, this is like the favourite dance. It changes all the time. I guess I've not raced at many. Domestically, I've raced at all the kind of domestic ones, but I've never raced at Anglesey. I've been there. My brother did his arts test at Anglesey. I've always wanted to race there. Never got a chance to race there. Donington is somewhere that I love. I love Donington for several reasons. One, it was kind of for me, the birthplace of my motorsport career. It was a place I remember the most vividly as a spectator. Watching the British Superbikes, watching MotoGP, that is the circuit. Sitting on the grass hill there at Old Hairpin, praying for it to be some sort of overtake or some sort of, and there always is. And it was just a really, really good time. And then to kind of get to race there as well. It's a fast flowing circuit, very technical, and very rewarding. If you kind of hit the sweet spot, it just kind of happens. You're not really having to think of anything. It just flows. And I've done a lot of laps there on two wheels as well, on the Ron Haslam school. And so I just feel that that's the one circuit that just really feels like my home circuit, if you like. But obviously the most iconic one I've raced at, I think, would have to be Spa, in Belgium. That's a great circuit, very fast, unforgiving, which brings its own element of, fulfillment when you do execute something and you've been on the knife edge. So yeah, probably they're the two favourites. But then again, Alton Park is a real eye opener that I've not done in a fast car yet. I've only ever been there. I've done it in a touring car and I think I've done it in a Porsche, but I've never done it in a Bentley GT3 car, which I will be doing this year. So that'll be an eye opener.
I think the calendar for British GT. Now, I used to work in British GT. It was one of my first sort of telly presenting jobs. So that I think is the calendar that we've got. So you're looking at August now, first, second at Alton. Nice that it will start at Alton for you, but August seems like a terribly long way away.
Yeah, they've announced these, I think, last week or so, last couple of weeks. And that would be great if that happened. But as we do, I guess everyone's the same. We don't know yet what's going to happen. We don't know how that will look. If we go racing, what will the racing be? Is it going to be behind closed doors? Is it what sort of protocols are going to be in place? This is endurance racing that I'm in. I've obviously shared a car with my teammate Martin Plowman, so I don't know how that works. I don't know how, but it's a long time. It's a long way away. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the restrictions will ease accordingly. With obviously safety in mind, and we might get to August and it be racing as usual. It seems like a far stretch of the imagination, but there's every possibility. Or there's no racing at all, or there's a bit in the middle where we can race, but yet it's it's behind closed doors. So who knows? The dates have been released. As a team, we're committed to doing our best to be there. So we just, like everyone else, we're waiting to see what the government says, and each week it'll probably change.
Yeah, I think it's a funny situation, isn't it? Motorsport's just so stuck at the moment. All sports are stuck, in fairness, and we don't know quite what's going to happen. F1, the grand plan is to get back into action beginning of July. So, I think we're all waiting to see what's going to happen. Do you follow sort of what's going on with IndyCar, NASCAR, virtual racing? Are you across all of that, or have you just kind of gone, now can't be doing with that?
I wasn't until I met my teammate Martin Plowman, because he's raced. He's done the whole IndyCar thing. He's done the Indy 500, and I'd heard of the series, but I just thought, isn't that the one where they look like Formula One cars? They just go around in a circle. I was like, do you have to be? How hard is that? Anyway, these guys are unbelievable. 230 miles an hour, and the slightest bit of change, wind direction change, it can be catastrophic in a sense of the balance of the car and the implications of that. So, but it was Martin who kind of brought that kind of world to life, really, and he's done it again with the e-racing, this virtual racing. Again, I wasn't really aware of, until lockdown, and suddenly, you know, people are doing it, and it's become quite a big thing. So I think I'm getting a rig actually next week. Some guys are sending a rig over. So I've been asked to participate in a few races. So I'm going to have a few days practicing, and then I'll give it a go. I've done some simulator work with preparation for racing, but I've never been a gamer. So how or if any skills will transfer or not, I don't know. We'll see. But the main thing is, I think, it's just to keep racing active, I guess, is one thing. But I've got a young family, you know. There's every chance. I'm surprised it's not happening now, but there's every chance that the kids will just come running in and unplug the computer, or, you know. So we'll have to just see.
Yeah, I was expecting at any point a patter of little feet to come in, open the door, and kind of get on screen. It's one of those work-life balances that is always a problem. I'm working for the BBC. If I do any news pieces, I do them from in here, which is our study, and it's far too close to my daughter Isabel. And sometimes, you know, the unthinkable happens. You're like, oh. But you know, it's one of the challenges of raising a family. You said. But I'm going to let you go in a minute, because I said, oh, just come on for 20 minutes. And I think we've been speaking for ages, but it's so good.
That's okay. It's probably me. I tend to just talk.
What you do. Right, I'm going to whiz through a couple of questions, because we're getting loads of questions in for you. So here's a quick one. There we go. Who was your favourite co-star on Emmerdale, and why?
Who's my favourite co-star on Emmerdale, and why? Good question. I was gifted with so many co-stars, great co-stars. Clive Hornby played Jack, was, you know, somewhat a father figure in many ways. Great role model, great professional, and a wicked sense of humour. I guess James Hooton, who plays Sam Dingle, is still a very good friend of mine and somebody I keep in touch with. And I guess, you know, I think I've got kind of littered with friends throughout. It was a great cast. Danny Miller, Adam Thomas, and the lovely Laura Norton as well. So yeah, it's hard to kind of choose one. Yeah, it's hard to choose one.
I won't make you, it's fine.
No. They're all a great bunch. I do miss them all, but, you know, immensely.
Would you go back to Emmerdale at any point if they asked you to go back? Have they asked you to go back?
Yeah, you know, I think it was a great part of my career, great part of my life. But it's not really something that I've really thought about, to be honest, about going back. It still feels like I've only just left. Mm-hmm. Which is weird. You know, it still feels like it's still, you know, I think it was like 3 years ago maybe. So I don't know, who knows. You know, it's a great show. I don't think they probably don't need me at the minute. They're in a very good place, you know, and I just like to watch as a fan, really. So
okay. 3 wins, I think, if that's right, if I've done my homework right, in British GT. How many more wins this year?
We're quietly confident, you know, even though we are stepping up into a bigger car, bigger class. You know, the consistent has been with the new team as well. You know, the consistent is me and Plowie. For me, he's the best driver on the grid. He's a lovely guy, somebody who I admire as a driver, but, you know, I admire as a person. I think that's hugely important in any partnership, in any team. He's a good, you know, good man with some amazing support and family around him. And, you know, I think very highly of him and his family. So mixed with his talents on track, you know, for me, it's a formidable partnership. He believes in me, which has always been great. I think maybe a year or two ago was a rarity, because coming into racing with, you know, the TV guy, there was always a target on my head, and you know, if you finish 10th or 20th in a race, then it's not too bad. If I finish 10th or 20th or 2nd or whatever it is, then it's really bad. You know, they don't want you to do well, because you bring in spotlight on them, and if I can, as an actor, do well in racing, then what does it say about racing drivers? So they were always felt very quick to discredit me, but Martin didn't. And from day one of meeting him, he really believed in me, and shared I feel that I can do extremely well, and Martin feels that as well. So we've worked well ever since, and obviously we won the championship, the Pro-Am championship last year in GT4. We were, you know, at parts of the season, I think we were in with a chance of winning the overall championship, when, you know, only I think 6 cars out of 25, 26 cars were Pro-Am. You know, the majority were professional. These are young kids coming through who are on some manufacturer programs. It was littered with real talent. And I think me and Martin showed, or certainly I showed, that I've every right to be mixing it with those lads. So it's different in GT3. The majority, probably 90%, 95% is Pro-Am. So we're confident that all last year, the last couple of years really have kind of been the standout amateur, if you like. So there's no reason why that shouldn't continue, and that's what we're planning on doing. So hopefully, a few wins.
It's brilliant that you've been able to make the move across, because I know a lot of people give it a go, and there have been a lot of celebs or sportsmen, sportswomen who try. You seem to have just taken to it very naturally and really gifted.
I've done my best, and I continue to do my best. And Rome wasn't built in a day, and that's what people don't kind of quickly forget. And I think I've as a driver, I've come on so much in the time of first starting. I remember racing touring cars, and it was 3 years after I passed my arts test. I don't think in the history of British touring cars anybody's ever done British touring cars passed their arts test 3 years previous. So that was a huge opportunity. I saw it as a huge opportunity, and other people just kind of saw it as a huge liability and was like, but I was mixing it with some of the best drivers in the country. I wasn't winning. I didn't score any points. I didn't win any races, but I still saw it as a huge success, because it was something that I had a boiled dream to race in that championship. And it's something I very much still is on my radar now. I would love to go back, and it's something I would definitely explore in the future. I think it's a great championship. So to get the opportunity to go racing that, I was like, well, whether it's too early for me yet, I'm not bothered. This opportunity might not come up again, and I'll go for it. And I learned so much, and I enjoyed it, and I loved it. And you could probably count on one hand how many people make money going racing and make money going British touring cars, and I was one of them. So for me, it was a great success. And yeah, I just the years I've raced, I've always learned something every year, despite sometimes crashing or sometimes not winning championships or not winning races. There's still something to learn, and progression is key, and that's what I feel like I've done. And I think now people are starting to maybe take me a little bit seriously as a driver, and that's kind of through hard work and perseverance, and like you say, not giving up. People do come in to race, and it's a tough world, and you just got to be committed. And there's a lot of things that are out of your control that kind of limit you in many ways, and that's finances. And that's something I've been just as committed on. When I'm not in a racing car, I'm just as committed when I'm approaching sponsors and trying to capitalize on my unique selling point, and collaborate with various people to maximize their exposure. It's got to work for them. I don't just want their sticker to be on the side of my car. I've got to try and maximize and commercially think how I can activate this. How can I put two companies together, create some B2B business, and in the process I get to go racing. So for me, I'm confident that every partnership I've done, they've got just as much out of it as I have, and that's why I've kept my partners I have for all these years and racing at the level I am. So it's great to progress, and it's not over yet. I feel like I've only just started, and I've got so much more to achieve.
Final question for you, which I saw a couple of people asking. Glitter balls, where do you keep them? Where do you keep your trophies?
They're downstairs. I should have put them there. I was just looking up there. I got awarded, I think, on It Takes Two, and I got given. Let me get it. It was only a little one. I was inducted into the 10 club.
Look.
So can you see that? The 10 club. So that was our first 10. I think that was for the Charleston. Yeah, I think it was the Charleston. So that was like week 4, week 5. I don't know. But it was the Mary Poppins.
I'm going to be helpful here. I have no idea.
So, yeah, that was the first time I got a 10. So you get inducted into the 10 club. That was on It Takes Two. And that's kind of pride of place in my office. But the actual glitter balls, I've got 2 of them because I won, obviously, the TV show. And then I did the unthinkable and won the tour as well. So, which doesn't normally happen. And so, yeah, I've got 2 glitter balls that are in the downstairs. and they're right next to my British GT4 Championship trophy as well. So there's 3 trophies there that obviously mean a great deal, and yeah, I'll probably go and polish them after this. But weirdly, this is the one that's in my office. This is the one that I like the best.
I like that too. It's very cool. The only trophy I've got, hang on a minute, I'll wheel back. This is the trophy I've got. I've got lots of little awards and stuff, but this is the one that I think is super cool. It's my Silverstone Winner Award. There we go, for winning the Caterham class.
Oh, excellent.
So there we go. Caterham Skills Challenge at Silverstone. Still very proud of that. The guys were not happy.
Yeah. I bet.
Good fun. Right, thank you so much for your time, Kelvin. It's been a real treat.
That's okay, thank you.
Surviving lockdown, and I'm glad you dyed your hair. It's fabulous.
Yeah, I think I've been told that my roots are coming through, so I need to maybe do it again.
You've got to make what colour to go next. You can't just go bleach blonde again, can you?
You know, we was toying with the idea of going pink.
Yes.
You know, I might just throw it out there. You know, I've not all the jobs I was kind of in the mix for, everything's been postponed. So I think I've got at least another month or 2 of freedom, so I can, yeah, you know,
go crazy.
I might go crazy, yeah, and see what happens. I'm gonna keep the beard though. I think I was gonna do this blonde as well, but I was worried in case I like, you know, burn my skin or something. So I'll just keep the hair for now.
You've got you've got 1 kid.
2.
Get the oldest just to colour it in. You don't need to dye it. Felt tip pen.
Right, okay. Yeah, I'll give that a go. I've got a few highlighters here. I might colour it in with a few highlighters, a few kids' pens.
I love it. I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much, and hopefully I'll see you at Alton, somewhere, Silverstone, Brands, Donington at some point very soon. But thank you very much for coming on, and I'll see you shortly.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Jennie.
Bye,
Take
mate.
care. Bye-bye.
So, what a nice guy. Love Kelvin. We've only bumped into each other a couple of times at Goodwood, and he said he'd come on. So it's really kind of him to come on and to see us and take time out to answer your questions and just generally be very cool. Sorry if the audio was a bit rubbish during that at times. Not quite sure why, but it didn't like some of the things that we were doing, clearly. So that's it. Another Sunday gone. Sun setting. The lighting in this room's getting worse and worse. Hopefully you enjoyed Kelvin and his time. I've got another guest coming up next week. People have been very kind with their time and very generous in wanting to keep chatting with me. So next week, I believe we're going to have the fabulous Guido van der Garde coming on. And he's always good value. So fingers crossed that all works out and we can have a chat with him about all things Formula One and his world and WEC and all of that stuff. So I'm going to go and sit, watch some TV. Thank you for joining us and joining me. And fingers crossed we'll get some more exciting news soon. Hopefully Silverstone will happen safely. But from me here, it's good night. Take care of each other. Be kind, please.